welcome to this week's episode of the Home Inspector's Perspective with your host, D'Artagnan Sai. In this week's episode, we will discuss what is a home inspection and what you should expect. Are you ready? Let's begin. And here's your host, D'Artagnan Sai.
Hello and welcome to today's episode of the Home Inspector's Perspective. Your host, D'Artagnan Sai, licensed home inspector and home inspector coach, as well as licensed real estate agent. In today's episode, we're going to discuss what is a home inspection and what should you expect. Today's episode is slightly different than the previous two. This episode is a video podcast, as well as being able to be streamed via audio as well. So, elevating it up just a little bit. So, let's go ahead and get started here. So, the home inspection process, we're just going to get into what is a home inspection and what should you expect. So once you have found that home that you love, it's now time to get that home inspection, and you need to know exactly what that entails. And this podcast is for buyers, but also for real estate agents as well. So we'll touch on some topics that focus on agents as well. But in this episode, we're going to discuss what is a home inspection and what you should expect. So the agenda, we're going to talk about what a home inspection is and what a home inspection is not, setting your expectation. And then we're also going to discuss the pre-listing inspection for those that are potentially looking to sell their home, and how the home inspection plays a role, or the role that a home inspection will play in that as well. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. So what is a home inspection? Well, the home inspection is a visual inspection for the day of inspection. So all these components of the home, from the exterior, interior, the roof to the foundation and everything in between, an attached garage, detached garage, all those things are to be inspected with a standard home inspection. Now, other structures, like there's a second home on the property, such as a guest suite, that is not part of the standard home inspection. That would be an additional cost. Sheds and all those things like that are not part of the standard home inspection. Some home inspectors will do it as a courtesy, but technically it is not a part of the standard home inspection. So everything that is a part of the actual home inspection is all the things that are attached to the home, and the only exception for that would be a detached garage or carport. That is also part of the home inspection that needs to be inspected. So the home inspection is a visual inspection of the day of the inspection. So the home inspection is designed to provide a client with objective information regarding the condition of the systems and components of the home as inspected at the time of the inspection. Acts to identify visible defects and conditions that, in the judgment of the inspector, adversely affect the function or integrity of the items, components, and systems inspected, including those or components near the end of their serviceable life. So that's in a nutshell as to what's going to happen during the inspection there. Your home inspector is going to come out, and based on his or her professional opinion, is going to go into detail about identifying defects to bring them to your attention. Key word here in the very beginning is objective information. So it is not the home inspector's job to sway the client one way or the other, whether they should or should not buy the home. The home inspector's job is to simply present the information so that you, as the client, can make an informed decision to see how you would like to move forward with that home. So, quick example here. So, I have gotten asked on several occasions from my clients, and I think I mentioned this in a previous podcast, of would you buy this house? And I just have a very canned response. That my opinion does not matter because I'm not the one buying the home. My job is to provide you the information necessary so that you can make the informed decision, so that you can discuss with your agent. And if you have the opportunity to negotiate with a seller, you're going to prioritize some of the things that you want to have addressed by the seller. And then that's when the negotiation begins back and forth between your agent and the seller's agent um, for how you're going to proceed in settling the negotiations around the defects that have been identified. My job is to present you all the information and provide you any answers to any questions you have about what was found in the inspection report so that you can make an informed decision as to how you want to move forward. So, share what the home inspection is. We need to get into what the home inspection is not. And this ties into setting your expectations so that you know going in what a home inspection is not. So, an inspection is not, repeat, it is not technically exhaustive. An inspection will not identify concealed or latent defects, deal with aesthetic concerns, or what could be deemed as matters of taste, cosmetic defects, etc. In addition, a home inspection is not, and I repeat, it is not a code inspection. We are not code inspectors. So when the county or municipal sends out their inspectors, they're looking for the very minimum items there associated with code. As home inspectors, our thing, the underlining of a home inspection is in code, but we're not code inspectors, so we're not responsible or obligated to keep up with the changing of code. For example, there could be a code, a national code, that's out there, but a particular municipality changes a code because of its unique situation for where the home lies within the jurisdiction of said municipality. So they may have a different code as relates to their jurisdiction. So as home inspectors, we're not required to keep up with the ever-changing world of codes. But what we do is we have our own standards of practice that we use, and we're basically going on what is common traditional practice and clear safety hazards and defects associated with the home, and we point those things out to you within the inspection report. Another thing, and this is, I guess I'm speaking to my fellow agents out there. So I'm a licensed real estate agent as well. And so the perception of the home inspection for some agents is that it's a deal killer. And so, some of them dread getting an inspection report because they feel as though sometimes it may kill the deal. And as an inspector, and I'm not being biased in here, I don't think, the home inspection is just the information about the home. What makes or kills the deal is what happens with the negotiation after the fact. Um, uh, Home inspectors in the industry sometimes say, hey, it wasn't an inspection that killed the deal. The home committed suicide. That, it just was, the home which is in such a interesting state that the client just chose not to move forward based on what potential things that they will have to inherit by taking ownership of the home. And maybe the seller may or may not want to make any concessions, either via credits or actually getting things fixed. And those negotiations, the buyer chose to exit the deal, which is their right if they have the home inspection contingency. So the home inspection is not a deal killer on the surface. However, and this is where home inspectors have to stay in their lane. And so when I said that it's supposed to be objective, that's exactly what it's supposed to be. So how a home inspector communicates what's inside the report can spook clients, which may make real estate agents feel as though that the home inspector killed the deal, not necessarily the home inspection itself, but the home inspector as to how he or she conveyed the information to the client. So when I speak with my clients, I say from the very beginning, because it's true, none of this is a lie. Everything can be fixed on a home. It's just a matter of who's going to fix it. And my job as the inspector is to present you all the necessary information so that you can make an informed decision as to how you would like to move forward. But everything can be fixed. And just because you see a high number of defects on there, every major defect is not created equal. Although we have to identify it as a major defect, doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be costly or that you value it as a major defect personally. For example, if there's obviously some issues going on with the roof, shingles missing, um, flashing issues, etc., on the roof, compared to a handrail missing that's going down the basement, the exterior basement stairway. Both of those considered major defects. Um, One can cause issue to the home, and the other one's a safety issue where someone can lose their balance and have nothing to grab onto, tumble down the steps, or hurt themselves. But you, as the home buyer, when it comes to weighing those things out, when it comes to what you want to negotiate with the seller, you may or may not consider the handrail being missing of great value or great importance to you in your negotiation. That's something that you can either take on yourself or you just never plan on addressing at all. But you may want to have the roof addressed. So, as I show my clients, every major defect is not created equal. So, as you view and look through that inspection report, you can then prioritize. It's not our job as the home inspector to rank order or prioritize because what I may deem important, you may not deem important. So, I strongly advise my clients go through the inspection report thoroughly, look at everything from the minor defects, the major defects, and any material defects. And then from there, you can decide what you want to do. So let me give you another example. So a material defect, and that's something where, there could be imminent harm or issues with the home. So one defect that falls into that category is the garage door between the house and the home not being self-closing. Now, one may say, well, why is that considered a material defect? Well, because the door is supposed to self-close because if someone has the car running or the vehicle running inside the garage and the garage door is open, then carbon dioxide could come in, which obviously is a hazard to all the occupants inside. And so, although it's a material defect, it's a relatively quick and inexpensive fix. Simply change the hinges on the doors so that it now becomes a self-closing door. So I do my best to educate my clients to not get caught up in, you see material defect and you um, you know, get really excited or spooked. Like, no, not necessarily a cause for great concern. If it's not addressed, yes, but not that it cannot be addressed. That's something you can just take on your own. It's not necessarily something that you may cause you to walk away from the deal. So I make sure I explain to my clients what the defects are, and then from there, and answer any outstanding questions they may have, so that they can feel comfortable in doing their own rank ordering as to how they want to proceed in negotiations with the seller, if indeed they do have an option to negotiate. So the home inspection in itself is not the deal killer. What happens once all parties involved receive the report, how it is interpreted, and how the negotiations happen after that, which is what ultimately can kill the deal as a result of having a home inspection. So for clients, setting the expectation on price. This is really going to help you if you put this in this framework here. So, most home inspectors charge by the square footage of the home. So, the larger the home, the more the home inspection is going to cost. And depending on where your home is located, what systems it has. So if it's on a well and septic system, then you're probably going to want to budget more because that may be something that you want to inspect. So the well and septic system is the responsibility of the homeowner. So the county or municipality is not coming out to service your well and septic system. So you're responsible for that. And for a well system, in addition to all the components you're responsible for, you're also responsible for maintaining the water quality of it. So the EPA recommends that you test your water annually to make sure there are no contaminants in there. And then if there are, then you can go about addressing it. But that is the responsibility of the homeowner to address all those things associated with the well and septic system. So the cost of that for inspecting those things is going to be much higher than a standard inspection because the well and septic system are separate. Those are considered add-on services. So you want to budget accordingly. You want to be able to get as much information about the home potentially as possible. But if you have set yourself a lower budget, and then it comes time to know that this home has, these features here, you may be stretching yourself a little thin, and then you may choose to forego getting said inspection for your information purposes, and then walk into something after you buy the home that you possibly could have avoided or potentially negotiated with the seller to have addressed. So that's something to really consider. So you also may want to have some additional add-on services such as getting a termite inspection. Usually between $75 $99 is an add-on service for most inspectors. With my inspections, it comes complimentary. Radon inspection added on. That's always highly recommended that you get a radon inspection. It's the second leading cause of lung cancer in the country. You may want to get the water quality tested, not just if you have a well system, but public water as well. Just kind of think of Flint, Michigan there. So you might always want to test the quality of the water, especially if, you're living in a city that's had a history of concerns with lead, etc. Well inspection, mentioned that. Mold testing, lead testing, all those things you may want. And some inspectors offer a repair report as well. And so the way that works is if all the defects that are found on the home, they usually get sent out to a third-party company. That third-party company will assess what the defects are and a cost estimate associated with it. So then you have that for informational purposes only, depending on what company they're using, to know what the costs are associated with the repairs. So then you can use that in negotiation with the seller, or you can use that if you're buying it as is, or you choose to take some things on your own, that you have a baseline when it comes time to negotiate with contractors around the approximate cost of what it would cost to address the issues that were found. So that can be helpful as well. So you definitely want to understand what the cost is associated, the potential cost associated is with the home inspection, and budget accordingly. So I would say budget on the high end. And if you don't need all the services, what have you, then you have some money where you can allocate that to something else. So you want to have more than less when it comes to, because you want to, I highly recommend the clients get everything that they would like to get to know about the home, and not let price be a reason why you didn't get something that you really, really would have liked to know more about. So again, setting the expectation, value versus price. So, some people are price hunting out there. I strongly recommend that you value hunt, so that, your home inspector is providing you great value. Like what all are you getting with the home inspection? And so in the previous podcast on how to vet a home inspector, touched on that as to in asking the home inspector exactly what all are you getting with the cost of the price of your home inspection. Sometimes they say, well, there's a saying that if you are simply price on, you get what you pay for sometimes. So it's not necessarily looking for the cheapest home inspector, it's looking for the home inspector that is going to be able to meet the needs that you have, and the value that they are going to provide you. So, um, shameless plug here. So here's what comes just to get an idea of value. So with my home inspections, comes with a free termite inspection, free recall check, meaning I'll scan all the data, appliances, and tags available. And then if there's ever a recall on any of those items, the clients will get an email with the information from the manufacturer and the contact number so they can reach out to them to get those items fixed or replaced at no cost to them. Also include some warranties, a 90-day structural mechanical warranty, 90-day water and sewer warranty, a 90-day mold and safe warranty, and a 5-year roof leak protection, and also a home energy report. Now, with those warranties, because what a home inspection is a snapshot in time. This is what the home was like the day of inspection. The conditions of the home can change, especially if it's an occupied home. There are many times when the seller is moving out of the home, they can change the condition of the home as they're moving out. So the way the warranties work is gives them my clients some additional peace of mind and knowing that they have some coverage in the event. So the 90-day structural mechanical. So HVAC system falls under mechanical. So here's an example. So the day that I did the inspection, everything may have been working just fine, right? It depends on the season. We might be at the tail end of winter, about to go into spring. So if it's in the wintertime, and if it's um, not a furnace, but if it's a heat pump, well, in the wintertime, I can't test the AC on a heat pump. And if it's the summertime, I can test the heat pump, the heat side of the heat pump. So the line of demarcation is 65 degrees. So if it's cooler than 65 degrees, can test the AC. If it's warmer than 65 degrees, can test the heat side. So if it's a heat pump system and I come out depending on the time of the year, may not, but it may fall within a 90-day window, when the season may change where you can test, maybe go from summer to fall, etc. So I had a client that did it. I did the inspection in December, and when I did the inspection, and he had a gas furnace and AC, so everything was working just fine because I was able to test the gas furnace. There's no restriction on that, so I was able to test that to make sure that it just functioned. Not trying to heat the house up. I just want to make sure that the system functioned. So um, there were some issues with the system in general, and so there was a responsibility at that time to negotiate with the seller to get those things repaired. He moved into the home within 90 days. Did a winter kicks in, the heat's not working, and so because during the inspection when I tested it, everything was working fine. It fell under the warranty for it to get addressed. So he was very pleased with that, and many customers will be pleased with that as well because there was no deductible associated with getting that concern addressed. So I offer those things to my clients, which provides them great value and peace of mind, and knowing that they walk into the home with some coverage at no additional cost to them. So just keep that in mind when you're dealing with inspectors to see what value they can offer you besides just the cost of the inspection and providing you a inspection. And I'm going to just go out on a limb and say, hey, they're going to provide you an awesome inspection, but they may not provide you all the value that you would like to have or know that's possible for you to get. So for agents, how can the agents provide value to you as the client? And for my agents out there, just here's how you can provide some value to your clients and this whole home inspection process. So as agents, you should definitely set clear expectations of the home inspection for the client. So basically what I've shared before, it's a snapshot in time to provide information on the home, setting proper time frame for the home inspection contingency, I cannot stress this enough. So let me just give you another example. So if a home is on well and septic and the client wants to get the water tested, typically the turnaround time to get that sample back is 5 business days. So if one moment, sorry about that. I had to plug in, about to lose power. So the time frame to get a water quality test results back is 5 business days, typically from the time the lab receives the sample. So if the home inspector has to ship out, it uses overnight shipping, but that's one day to get it there, and then it's going to take 5 days, business days, to get the results back. So if the contingency window is not long enough, you may not, or more than likely, you will not be able to get the results back in time to make a decision whether or not if the water is contaminated, to negotiate to have the seller address that issue. And depending on what the contaminant is, that may or may not be a determining factor whether or not you want to move forward with the home or not. However, if your contingency window closes before you get the results back, you just had to move forward, potentially not knowing what those results are. So I definitely encourage agents to, based on the type of inspections and tests that your client wants, that your contingency window reflects that, so that all those things can be done. For my agents as well as my clients, and you guys out there, make sure you read the entire inspection report to review with your client. And this is for agents as well. So let me just give you another example. So at the end of my inspections, I go over with the client, and if the agent's there, with them as well. You know, an overview of what happened. Here are all the defects that I found, and greater detail will be found within the inspection report. And in this particular one, I shared with the client that in the garage, it appeared to be possible mold. And as inspectors, we can't say that it's mold. We only can say that it's fungal growth, possible mold. The only way to determine it is to actually test for it. So I shared with the client and the agent that was there that, in the area, in the garage, there was possible mold there. There was fungal growth there. And I pulled out my moisture meter and I tested around there and captured it via video, which was inside the report, stating that it's possible mold, one, and second, that it didn't appear to be wet surrounding the area. But I showed my client that, hey, you potentially could just spot check and, deal with that on your own if you wanted to, without having to get a mold test, because I didn't see any other signs of fungal growth anywhere else inside the home or the garage. It was just in that area. So it may or may not been mold at all. So I get a call from the agent a few days later, saying, hey, um, we got a little hiccup here with the seller here, because she's going back and forth with us about what you put in the report about the mold being there. And I said, correction. I said possible mold, because it was never confirmed, because we didn't do any tests, that it was possible mold. And I asked her, I said, well, did you look at the report? She said, no, not yet. Now, this is a few days after the inspection report has been published. She said, no, not yet. So clearly she did not, no, not yet means she did not read the inspection report, nor did she see the video. She just went on the fact that I mentioned possible mold, and she just heard mold, and that's what she went with, that there was mold in the garage, and didn't get the clarification that she needed before interacting with the other side, making a request. They had something to address. So that was a point of contention that potentially did not have to happen if the agent herself read the inspection report. Then she'd have been able to advise our shared client better and how to move forward in that negotiation. So you don't want to put the deal in jeopardy yourself, because as a deal killer, right? Potentially, that could potentially kill the deal, since there was a point of contention. Had nothing to do with the inspection report itself, had nothing to do with how I conveyed the information, had everything to do with how it was interpreted and received and lack thereof, and reading the entire report on part of said agent to further and best advise her client. So we don't want to do that. So everyone needs to read the home inspection report so that you can get a good idea of what's going on. And then by all means, reach out to your home inspector to ask any clarifying questions as needed. And then for my agents, your client wants to feel that you have their best interest at heart and that you're not there solely for the commission. So that's a great way to add value to them, showing that you are looking out for their best interest with the information from the inspection report as to how you're going to negotiate on their behalf with the seller so that they can move into a home that they feel comfortable with. So for those that are sellers agents, here's the value, and this is for potential homeowners that are looking to sell. So there is value in the pre-listing inspection. So potentially you can definitely sell your home for more money because you've had the home inspected. Does not preclude the buyer from getting an inspection, but some buyers will simply feel comfortable that the home has been inspected. They can see the inspection report and whatever repairs that you made by a licensed professional, they can see all those things, and they may feel comfortable in waiving their home inspection contingency because you had the inspection already done. Then another advantage of that is that you can get repairs done on your own timeline. So once the home goes under contract, the deal is in jeopardy because if there is a home inspection contingency, the buyer can exit the deal because of the home inspection, for whatever that reason may be, whether it was just too many repairs for them, or as the seller, you just didn't want to make any repairs, and the budget. So sellers should budget for repairs potentially as well, because if the buyer gets a home inspection and the home is not being sold technically as is, you may want to figure out whether or not what's your budget for repairs, or you're going to do concessions, seller credits, etc., based on whatever the legalities are within your state as to what all you're able to give. So those are the conversations that sellers need to have with their agents to kind of be prepared on that end, so that the deal does not end because financially the conversations wasn't there around repairs. So some home inspectors have some partnerships, and I have a partnership with a repair pricing company that not only will they give you the repair estimates, but for sellers, they don't have to have any out-of-pocket costs. So that money will come out of closing. So now that gives you another advantage. You get the home inspection, find out what all needs to be done. You can decide, rank order, what are those things that you want to have done. Now you have a licensed contractor come out, make those repairs, and you have no out-of-pocket expense to pay. It just comes out of closing. And so now you put the home in the best possible position to be sold at a higher rate. And sometimes it could be a bidding war because the home is in a more optimal state. And then if I'm doing that inspection, those warranties that I referred to earlier come with the home and are transferable over to the new buyer, which also gives them that additional peace of mind that also can help your home sell for more. So there is great value in having the pre-listing inspection if you are a listing agent or if you're a seller considering selling your home. So, in closing, hopefully the information that was shared today will help clear up any misunderstandings about what a home inspection is, what it isn't, what you should expect based on a home inspection, so that you can have a great home inspection. And when you get to that part of the real estate transaction process, it can be a less stressful space, because many times folk are very anxious and full of anxiety when it comes to the home inspection, mainly because they weren't necessarily well informed or prepared when it got to this stage here. So I definitely do my best to try to fill that gap, to relax the clients and sometimes the agent, as well, around what the findings were, and then basically how they can move forward using that information to negotiate, with the conversation with their agent around what they want to do next. So if you happen to be in the Maryland, D.C., Virginia area, feel free to consider me at Diaz Home Inspection Services. Uh, you can visit me on the website, www.d as in David, S as in Sam, inspects with a S.com, or you can give us a call, 240-900-3208. And if you mention this podcast as how you came in contact with us, you'll be able to use this promo code to give yourself a discount off of services. All right, so hopefully you enjoyed. Please like and share, and tune in to next week's episode, or our next episode may or may not be next week, but tune into the next episode. I hope you enjoyed today's episode of what is a home inspection and what it is not. And with that, we're out.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode of The Home Inspector's Perspective with Titanian Sai. If you enjoyed today's episode, we'd greatly appreciate if you like and subscribe for more episodes. Share this episode with friends, colleagues, and family. Tune in for our next episode, breaking down the home inspection report. Until then, take care.